Like a cat on memory foam, you can't turn away from watching Lovecraft Country.
Be strong.
Welcome again to 5 on the Backhand Side. This week we break down episode 2 of Lovecraft Country titled Whitey's on the Moon. Thanks for clicking on this video, and be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. With that out of the way, let's get to the breakdown.
Lions and tigers and bears.
There may not be lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, but there sure are wizards, shoggoths, and dick snakes. This episode really moved the story forward, but not necessarily in a good way. We start back in Artem, with our trio taking up residence. Letty and Uncle George seem to be enjoying their new surroundings, while one of the greatest TV theme songs ever plays in the background. Letty tries on new clothes, and bibliophile George relaxes.
Books! All the books I'll need!
All the while, Tick is reflecting on the previous night's events. An alarm sounds that brings the trio together in a great hallway. Tick thinks it's strange that each of their rooms has exactly what they desire. George's library and Letty's clothes that all fit. Who wouldn't find that strange? The white man from last week appears out of nowhere like a ghost, while they are talking, and informs him that it was a lunch bell and not an alarm. We learn that the white dude's name is William, and apparently he has told Tick that his father was in Boston on a trip with Mrs. Braithwaite, the mysterious lady from last week. William informs the group that the original owner of the lodge they are in belonged to Titus Braithwaite, who achieved his fortune from shipping. He says the original house burned down in 1833 and that everyone inside was killed except Tick's ancestor. This William dude is strange and is just a close personal friend of Christina Braithwaite, the owner of the silver sedan. At lunch, Tick asks Letty how she could eat after what happened last night, and she and George do not remember being attacked by monsters in the woods or much of anything from the previous night's events.
Remember, you crashed Woody into the cabin right after I shot the sheriff. Shot the sheriff? I had to shoot the sheriff.
Tick knows something is not right. George tells them they are being watched, and Tick thinks they should investigate the nearby village.
Take Letty and search the lodge. I'm gonna check down in the village.
We are not splitting up.
Did Tick just say they should split up?
It is a very, very bad idea.
On their way to the village, they see Woody in a garage, and he looks brand new, without any signs of being involved in a crash. What the hell is going on here? Letty thinks Tick has shell shock because he keeps talking about monsters and that they cannot remember anything. Just then, Tick hears the whistle that called off the monsters and runs into Dog Lady Dell, played by Jamie Newman. She is one hell of a racist. George asks if she's the sheriff because of the only stone building in the village, and she proceeds to compare black bears to black people.
They're not smart. They're beasts.
I know that this is the 60s, but this type of crap is still happening today.
This forest zoning would bring crime, lawlessness, and low-quality apartments into now thriving suburban neighborhoods.
She tells them they need to go back to the lodge before the sun goes down. George thinks the stone building is a dungeon, and that Montrose may be inside. While walking back to the lodge at night, Uncle George stops and remembers something Tick's mother said to him. She said that his ancestor Hannah escaped the master's house after a fire. The monsters are back and attack the trio, but they are rescued by a horseback Christina with the whistle. She's also joined by Dog Lady Dale. George and Letty lose time again and don't know why they are in the woods. Tick is sent to Christina's father's lab, while Letty and George go back to their rooms. In his room, George sees a book out of place, The House on the Borderlands and Other Novels by Arkham House. And when he removes it from the bookshelf, a hidden door opens. Who left him this clue? It leads to a vast library. On a table, there happens to be a book called The Bylaws of the Order of the Ancient Dawn. He begins to read. Christina's father, who we found out is named Sam, is being operated on without anesthesia and is having his liver removed. With the surgery over, did he just say he's darker than I expected?
He's darker than I expected.
Tick is introduced to Sam, who does not seem to care for Negroes. They discuss Genesis 2:19 with Tick and his daughter, and plan to use Tick for a ceremony. Tina tells Tick that her father and the rest of the lodge members would be very dangerous enemies to have if he does not try to make friends. Tick tells her that he thinks she put a spell on Letty and George. Tina lets him know that the spell is for anyone who encounters the monsters and lives to tell about it. She removes the spell as a gesture of goodwill, and the screams of George and Letty can be heard in the hallway as their memories come rushing back. Tick tries to leave his room and is blocked by an invisible barrier with glowing symbols. A young boy arrives and informs Tina that it is time. She heads to a barn in the village. I thought she was delivering a calf, and it was one of the monsters. So they can be born or made, it appears. Tick makes it to Letty and tries to comfort her, and we get some insight into her history with her mother. As a little child, she would leave her alone for hours at a time, and one day she never came home. They share a kiss. The camera pans along the outside of the lodge and into another room where we see that the real Tick is still trapped. Tick and George are talking via Morse code, and Tick tells George about the wizards who are actually the lodge members. Tick hears a sound and shots come from the wardrobe, and Jaya appears in military fatigues. A fight ensues. George tries to go to the secret room again, but before he does, a vision of Dora appears before him and mentions his children. He knows it's not real, but does not care. I told y'all something was going on between these two. Letty and the fake Tick are about to have sex when she changes her mind. Tick gets up and pulls out his dick snake, a literal dick snake, and attacks her. OG Tick ends up killing Jaya, and George's mental fortitude allows him to see through the vision of Dora. As each of our group are involved in their own romantic trysts, we see that the lodge members are watching them as entertainment, and the members want to know why Christina is there. A dinner bell sounds, and our trio emerges from their rooms. William informs them that the dinner is for men only. Tick asks whom each of them saw, and George does not mention Tick's mother.
Who'd they make you see?
Doesn't matter. They're just trying to get inside our heads.
Courtney B. Vance is really a great asset to this show. At dinner, the members are offered Sam's liver as a sacrifice to empower the current lodge members.
Don't need that.
George arises and talks about Prince Hall Masons. What a great monologue. And recites back to them their own rules. Sons among sons, and Tick can give orders to the regular old members. He tells the others to leave, and Sam to give him his father. William likes the fact that Tick has taken action, but Sam does not really care for the rules and does not respect Tick's authority. Do not mistake useful for indispensable, he tells him. They go back to the stone silo looking for Montrose, and Dog Lady Dell appears, with shotgun in hand, ready to kill them. But Letty knocks her ass out. Just like the Count of Monte Cristo, Montrose has tunneled himself out of the dungeon, where our trio is standing in wait.
Hey, Montrose.
He is not happy to see them. George says there are secret lodges like this all over the country. This one in particular, called the Sons of Adam, was founded by Titus Braithwaite after he found the Book of Names. They want the spell of immortality, and a failed attempt is what caused the first lodge to be burned down. They reach the bridge and hit an invisible barrier. The same symbols that trap Tick can be seen. Sam and Tina emerge from a car that was following them, and as the group exit the demolished vehicle, he shoots Letty. As she lay dying, Tick tries to comfort her and asks Tina for help. Sam tells Tick he will give him a choice to pick who else will survive the night, and he looks at George. So Sam shoots George instead of Montrose because it would hurt him more. Tick is getting a buck-naked sponge bath with Tina in the room, and a spell is used to look into the room where George, Letty, and Montrose are. Tina tells him that her father needs him for a ceremony that will open a doorway to the Garden of Eden, where her father believes he will step through to eternal life. The same spell that failed Titus. Tick tries to connect with Tina on an emotional level over their destructive fathers. Letty recovers from being killed, and Sam has agreed to heal George when Tick completes the ceremony. Tina presents him with a Sons of Adam ring and tells him to seize his moment. The same symbol from the barrier spells is on the ring. Letty is in distress after returning from the dead, and her ribs look weird. George and Montrose have a heart-to-heart about Tick's birth father. They agreed years ago to never talk about it, that it could be either of them. In this scene, we get to hear the late great Gil Scott-Heron perform his 1970 spoken word poem, Whitey on the Moon. The ceremony starts, and Tick's life force is being drained from him to open the doorway. Inside, he sees a vision of a pregnant Hannah holding the Book of Names, or possibly another spell book. Tick manages to fight the spell, and the lodge starts to fall apart. A wave of power is unleashed from his body that turns Sam and the other lodge members to dust. Tick follows the vision of Hannah out of the collapsing lodge to safety. Letty calls to him, and as they walk back to Woody, George has died in Montrose's arms. Tick breaks down. Okay, overall, I will give this episode a 5 out of 5. I cannot help myself, these episodes are just that good. Just like Jan de Man's last week, Daniel Sackheim provided great direction in this episode. There was agony, distress, pain, and of course comedy, which is very good. I did not read the novel and want to go into these episodes without any bias, so I'm not disappointed in what I've been seeing so far. I will read the novel when this is over and compare notes at that time. But this show is just so good. I really hope this is not the last we see of Courtney B. Vance, because that would be a shame. I love how these four actors connected on screen. Their chemistry was great. Now, questions we want answered this season. Is Letty a zombie? Will George come back in some capacity? Did Christina and William survive? What book was Hannah holding? What is going to happen in the village now that the lodge has collapsed? Once again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Also subscribe to other channels that are similar to ours. And don't forget, keep it copacetic.